Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lepakshi Khurana, coming up in the next hour. Sweden has cleared its final obstacle to joining the NATO after Hungary's parliament voted to ratify its bid, ending the more than 18 months delay in the process. The 2024 U.S. presidential race heads to Michigan now after losing South Carolina to Donald Trump. Nikki Haley still vows to stay in the race. U.S. President Joe Biden hopes for Gaza ceasefire and a hostage deal as Israelis Hamas take part in Qatar talks. And in a power-packed two-day tour beginning today, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra will lay foundation stones of several developmental projects. On to the details now. Hungary's parliament has ratified Sweden's bid to join NATO, ending more than 18 months of delays that frustrated the alliance as it sought to expand in response to Russia-Ukraine conflict. Hungary's National Assembly voted 188 votes in favor and 6 against the ratifying Stockholm's accession protocol to the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. In a few days, the Scandinavian country will be able to officially become the 32nd member country of the Atlantic Alliance. The two premiers had met last Friday in Budapest to discuss defense and security cooperation, which led to clearing the path for Hungary to purchase 4 new Swedish-made Gripen fighter jets, while Stockholm got its way into the NATO. Hungary had remained the only member country not to formally approve Stockholm's entry into the Atlantic Alliance when also Turkey ended its tough blockade. The entrance ceremony for the new alliance member could be held at NATO headquarters as early as on the 1st of March. And Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson said his country is leaving behind 2 centuries of neutrality. Sweden applied to join NATO shortly after Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022. The Hungarian ratification, backed by a large majority of lawmakers, will now be signed by the country's Speaker of Parliament and President within a few days. After that, the remaining formalities, such as depositing accession documentation in Washington, are likely to be concluded swiftly.
200 år av neutralitet och alliansfrihet bakom oss. Det är ett stort steg. Det ska vi ta på allvar. Men det är också ett mycket naturligt steg som vi tar. Medlemskapet i NATO betyder att vi nu kommer hem till ett stort antal demokratiers samarbete för fred och frihet. Ett mycket framgångsrikt samarbete.
Well, the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken praising Poland's leadership within NATO, noting the significant strengthening of the bloc with Sweden's admission following Hungary's approval. Blinken attributed this move to the repercussions of Russia's President Vladimir Putin's actions in Ukraine, while welcoming Poland's Foreign Minister Radoslaw Sikorski to Washington on Monday.
We very much look forward in the days ahead to finalizing everything and bringing Sweden into our alliance, our shared alliance. From day one, it has been Poland, its leadership, its solidarity with Ukraine, its work within our NATO alliance that has made and continues to make a profound difference. And so, Radek, I know we'll have occasion to talk about that as well, but we couldn't be more grateful. Again, not just for the solidarity, but the leadership that Poland has shown when it comes to this aggression against so many of our interests and so many of our values.
Well, Sikorski expressed gratitude for U.S. support, emphasizing the urgency of preventing further Russian aggression and Poland's commitment to NATO's objectives.
Indeed, as you said, the Polish-American relationship is excellent. Poland has bold plans to strengthen its defenses, but America is our essential security partner. We have done what we pledged to do in the successive NATO summits. We are now, I believe, in proportion to GDP, the biggest spender on defense in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. And so we're trying to give a good example. But times are dramatic, and therefore this moment is sublime, because we are coming up to a fork in the road. And depending on where we go, history will be different.
While U.S. President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump are hoping to secure big wins in Tuesday's Michigan primary election. However, Arab Americans in the state have warned they do not intend to vote for the president due to the administration's pro-Israel position over the war in Gaza. Nikki Haley reports for more from Washington.
Biden and Donald Trump go into Tuesday's primary in Michigan as the men to beat. On the Republican side, Trump is hoping for another resounding victory over his rival, Nikki Haley. He soundly beat her in Saturday's South Carolina primary, beating her by about 20%, despite it being Haley's home state and where she was governor for 6 years. There is also a separate Republican nominating convention that's taking place on March the 2nd, where some more of these state delegates will be awarded to the Republican candidates. For the Democrats, Biden, the incumbent president, is expected to sweep the state. His challenger, Minnesota Congressman Dean Phillips, is seen as holding little sway in the state. He may only pick up a few thousand votes in total, so is not expected to upset Biden's victory. However, there is a sizable disaffected group of Arab American Democratic voters in the state who are refusing to support Biden. In certain parts of Michigan, Arab Americans are in the majority, and many of them, who usually vote Democrat, say they cannot support Biden this time around because of his support of Israel and what they see as his lack of commitment to uphold human rights and help Palestinian civilians in Gaza. Progressive activists and pro-Palestinians are urging voters to cast their ballots for uncommitted, making this a protest vote against Biden. However, Michigan's governor said that it could lead to Biden seeming weak, ultimately helping Trump to get re-elected in November's presidential election. It matters, as Michigan is a key swing state in the November general election, and Biden knows he needs strong support from voters, not just from Democrat ones, but also undecided moderates, if he's got a chance of winning the state in November. Nick Harper in Washington, reporting for DD India.
Well, Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley was campaigning in Michigan on Monday. Haley's better-than-expected showing in South Carolina exposed weaknesses on Trump's flank, particularly among more traditional Republicans and moderate voters. Haley won about 40% support in South Carolina after taking about 43% of the vote last month in the New Hampshire primary. In both cases, she was bolstered by independents and some Democrats who took part in the primary to back her over Trump. Haley insists she will fight on and argues that a large swath of Republicans continue to reject Trump.
If Donald Trump is the candidate, Republicans will once again lose the election. We'll lose the swing states, we'll lose the House, we'll lose the Senate, and we won't take anything with us. The Republican Party is fully divided, and you now have factions. You can't win a general election if you don't acknowledge the 40% of Republicans who are saying we don't want Donald Trump.
While U.S. President Joe Biden is to meet the top 4 congressional leaders at the White House on Tuesday to press lawmakers on passing an aid package for Ukraine and Israel, as well as keeping the government running. DD India's Kate Fisher reports for more from Washington.
Runs out for Ukraine on the battlefield and for averting a government shutdown at home, US President Joe Biden's convening the leading Democrat and Republican members of the Senate and the House. They're under pressure to pass the $95 billion national security package that bolsters aid for Ukraine, Israel and the Indo-Pacific. Now, that bill cleared the Senate earlier this month, but Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson has yet to put it to a House vote. It has got majority support in the House, including from a solid core of Republicans, but Speaker Johnson has to manage members on the far right who staunchly oppose additional Ukraine aid, and his tenuous grasp on the Speaker's office could be at risk if he pushes for it. Separately, there's not yet agreement on avoiding a partial government shutdown. Funding for agencies including transportation, agriculture and veterans affairs is due to expire on Friday. Money to keep the rest of the federal government working, including the Pentagon, Homeland Security and the State Department, runs out next week. Now, each side blamed the other on Sunday night for the lack of progress, and it almost certainly means that House and Senate leaders will need yet another stopgap funding bill known as a continuing resolution to keep the government's lights on past Friday. In Washington, Kate Fisher reporting for DD India.
Well, US President Joe Biden said on Monday he hopes to have a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas conflict in Gaza start by next Monday, as Israelis Hamas take part in Qatar talks that also aim to broker the release of hostages. Israel and Hamas continue to take positions far apart on a possible truce while blaming each other for delays. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel was ready for a deal and it was up to Hamas to drop demands he described as from another planet. Al-Thani's office said Al-Thani and the Hamas chief had discussed Qatar's efforts to broker an immediate and permanent ceasefire agreement in the Gaza Strip. Israel continues to maintain in public that it will not end the conflict until Hamas is eradicated, while Hamas says it will not free hostages without an agreement to end the conflict. Well, as the Israel-Hamas conflict continues unabated, Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Shtayyeh has resigned in a bid to facilitate a broader consensus among the Palestinians. Meanwhile, Qatar and Egypt will now host discussions between Israel and Hamas to end the conflict through negotiations. DD India's Mihir Maikuri gets you more.
Now 4 months old, the latest Israel-Hamas conflict is by far the longest and most brutal conflict between the bitter enemies. On Monday, Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Shtayyeh resigned to help Palestinians reach a broad consensus.
I have submitted the resignation of the government to the President last Tuesday, and today I submit it in writing.
This comes as the US ramps up pressure on President Mahmoud Abbas to reform the Palestinian Authority amidst international efforts to end the Gaza conflict. Following talks in Paris, Israeli delegation on Monday headed to Qatar for ceasefire deal push. Qatar and Egypt will now host discussions between Israel and Hamas focusing on a ceasefire and the exchange of Palestinian prisoners and Israeli hostages. On Monday, the UN chief deplored the UN Security Council's failure to respond adequately to the Israel-Hamas conflict in Gaza and called for UNSC reforms.
The Security Council is often deadlocked, unable to act on the most significant peace and security issues of our time. The Council needs serious reform to its composition and working methods.
IDF forces killed more than 30 terrorists in Gaza's Zetor district, more than 10 in the central Gaza Strip and others in the southern city of Khan Yunis. The latest chapter to a decades-old conflict began after Hamas launched an unprecedented assault on Israel on the 7th of October last year, with hundreds of gunmen infiltrating communities near the Gaza Strip. Israeli military says more than 200 soldiers and civilians, including women and children, were taken to Gaza as hostages. Mihir Maikuri, DD India.
Well, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said cooperation and determination can end the conflict.
Everything that we do together to defend ourselves from Russian aggression add real security to our nations for decades ahead. Because each of Russia's losses and each of Russia's defeats teaches Russia and the other enemy nations of Europe and the free world as a whole that aggression does not and cannot give results. Cooperation and determinations are the two answers that everyone should give to the question of ending the war and bringing peace closer.
Moving on, the French president said providing more weapons to Ukraine was the priority above all others as he hosted European leaders for a summit on aid for Ukraine. Emmanuel Macron said no firm decision had been taken about the possibility of sending EU troops to Ukraine, but he said he believes allies of Ukraine will be willing to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes for Kyiv to win the war. Ross Cullen reports for more from Paris.
Well, Emmanuel Macron added that allies of Kyiv needed a jolt to kickstart a fresh round of funding and support for Ukraine, diplomatic, financial and military, as the country enters the third year of the war. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky addressed the summit via video link, and he hailed the recent bilateral security agreement signed between Paris and Kyiv. He said that millions of lives have been saved due to support from the West, and he urged leaders to ensure that, quote, Vladimir Putin cannot expand his aggression to other nations. Now, this summit came just 2 days after Europe and Ukraine marked the 2-year anniversary since the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion. And the Elysee Palace said it called this gathering to allow leaders to study the means available to respond ever more quickly and efficiently to the needs of Ukraine and its people. Financial support to allow and help Ukraine pay, for example, pensions and salaries was discussed, along with, of course, ammunition and weapons for the Ukrainian armed forces. But we heard from the Estonian Prime Minister. She was attending the summit on Monday, and she said it's not just about promising the ammunition, it's about ensuring the delivery of weapons to the soldiers fighting on the front line. And now Emmanuel Macron has come in for criticism throughout the war for what some people see as being slow to support Ukraine to the same extent as other big European nations like Germany and the United Kingdom, and also because he wants any ammunition bought by European nations for Ukraine to be purchased from European manufacturers. Now, this summit in Paris came the day before US President Joe Biden was set to convene congressional leaders in Washington to try to pass a $95 billion national security package of legislation that includes further support for Ukraine. In Paris, Ross Cullen reporting for DD India.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. The doctors' strike in South Korea continues amid warnings by the government of legal repercussions. Demonstrations continue in Europe as farmers converge in fresh show of force and jam Brussels' EU quarter as ministers meet. Odysseus moon mission images revealed its vertical descent to the furthest south. We get you details ahead. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. Lepak Shikuran. Moving on, South Korea's government has warned the doctors to return to work or risk being punished for staging a week-long protest. Country's Vice Health Minister said the doctors might face the suspension of their licenses or other legal repercussions if they do not return to work by the end of February. Well, DD India, Patrick Fogg joins us for more from Singapore. Well, Patrick, the government has given protesters until the end of this month to get back to work quite sternly. What more details can you give us?
Yeah, that's right. They've got until February 29th, as you say, or they risk facing serious punishment. Health officials have said that considering the gravity of the situation, that this is their last plea. The situation in hospitals and emergency services is described as being chaotic and dangerous, but you might argue that the government is still giving the protesters quite some leeway. They're telling them that if they do get back to work by the end of the month, then they won't be held responsible for what's happening. They're also telling them that that is where they will be heard most loudly and effectively when they are on the side of the patients. But as you mentioned, they could face suspensions, minimum suspensions of 3 months of their licenses if they don't get back to work by that deadline. And one of the difficulties for the striking doctors is that there is overwhelming public support for the government's measures. A Gallup career poll showing 76% of people in South Korea support the government's efforts to increase the quotas for trainee doctors. So regardless of whether or not the government is trying to do this to win votes, which is one of the things that the doctors are accusing them of, there is still a huge majority support for all of this.
All right, quite a grave situation there. In fact, why are the doctors digging their heels in on this, knowing that it could risk the health of the patients?
Yeah, you know, there often is two sides to every story. And while on the one hand, the government is saying that the doctors need to get back to work, on the other hand, the doctors are saying that, the government needs to address their concerns about pay and working conditions before they do that. They do not want to lose that bargaining chip. And one of the other things that's interesting as well is the hospitals that have accepted these resignations, or the doctors that have handed in their resignations. These resignations haven't been processed yet. The doctors are saying that effectively they're not actually on strike at the moment, that they have actually quit. And with regards to why they're digging their heels in, well, some doctors have talked about this being very difficult because they do have a commitment and, of course, serious concerns for the health situation and for their patients. But they're saying that the system is distorted and that it needs to change. They're saying, if we take, for example, if we're going to compare the system in Korea with the US, we're told that in the US, doctors work shifts of up to 24-hour days, and in South Korea, trainee doctors work up to 36 hours per shift. So that's vastly different. They're paid quite a bit less than they are in the US as well. So these are all part of the grievances, but we still don't know how the situation is going to evolve, and we may need to wait until February 29th until we know what happens next in this running dispute.
All right, thank you so much, Patrick, for that update from Singapore. And moving on, migrants from all over the world have been coming to the U.S.'s southern border in record numbers. That's led the state of Texas to take its own controversial measures to keep people from crossing. But even as those measures appear to be having an impact, there are signs that migrants are now simply moving west. Ira Spitzer reports from California's southern border.
The U.S. state of Texas has taken a tough line on migrants this year. In a move at odds with the federal government, the state has deployed its own tactics and personnel along its more than 2,000-kilometer border with Mexico.
We deployed the National Guard to turn back illegal immigrants. The Texas Department of Public Safety has arrested more than 24,000 criminals.
In the Del Rio, Texas area, formerly the epicenter of the crisis, illegal entries fell 76% in January. But increasingly, migrants are simply heading west to the states of Arizona and California, which have both seen huge surges driven by smuggler networks and information shared through social media and other sources.
And that's why we see that as more and more troops go to the Texas-Mexico border, more people are trying more deserty areas in Arizona, New Mexico, and California, which makes it more difficult both to catch them, but also more treacherous for the migrants themselves.
The migrants' countries of origins have changed too significantly in recent years. More and more people are coming from all over the world, including India.
The number of encounters between U.S. border officials and Indian migrants has seen a dramatic uptick in recent years, including here at the border between California and Mexico. From the year ending in September of 2023, there were more than 96,000 encounters, about a 50% increase from a year earlier.
The number of Chinese migrants has also risen sharply. Even if they do detain migrants initially, the U.S. doesn't have clear repatriation agreements with some of these origin countries or the capacity to efficiently process asylum claims.
They see that if they can make it to the United States, our system is so backlogged that it will take years before they'll get a chance to prove their case for asylum or some other kind of relief before an immigration judge. During that time, if they can get a work permit, they can at least work in the United States and send money back to their families overseas.
The migrants have created a political problem for President Joe Biden, and prospects to pass a border law that would address some of the issues look slim due to resistance from congressional Republicans. In an election year, the president's opponents would prefer to keep the issue front and center. Ira Spitzer reporting in San Diego, California for DD India.
Well, agriculture ministers from the 27-nation bloc meet in Brussels to examine proposals for simplifying the EU's agricultural policy in a new attempt to try to relieve the farmers. The 27-nation EU has already weakened some parts of its flagship Green Deal environmental policies, removing a goal to cut farming emissions from its 2040 climate roadmap. At the conclusion of a meeting of the bloc's agriculture ministers, Belgium's Deputy Prime Minister said the European Union's Executive Commission needs to present more ambitious proposals to reduce the farmers' concern. David Clarenwald said ministers viewed measures already proposed by the Commission as going in the right direction, but there was more work to do. Meanwhile, farmers jammed parts of Brussels with tractors in a protest to demand EU action outside the European Union headquarters. The action by the farmers came amid a meeting of the bloc's agriculture ministers. Demonstrators are demanding EU action on cheap supermarket products, low-cost imports and environmental rules that they say put too much pressure on the agricultural sector. In response to protest by the farmers, the EU has already weakened some parts of its flagship Green Deal environmental policies, scrapping a goal to cut farming emissions from its 2040 climate roadmap. The EU has also withdrawn a law to reduce pesticides and delayed a target for farmers to leave some land fallow to improve biodiversity.
The Council has agreed that these policies from the European Commission go in the right direction. These measures will constitute the first concrete step that will help in quick response at the European level to some of the worries of the farmers. But the Council considers that this is not enough, and it has invited the Commission to supplement these measures with new, more ambitious ones. Indeed, the reduction of the administrative burden is one of the concerns mentioned by the agricultural community, but this is not all.
Well, Peru declared a 90-day health emergency across its 20 regions on Monday as dengue fever cases spiked across the country. The death toll due to the virus has touched 32, while total active cases climbed up to 31,300. Health Minister Cesar Vasquez said the South American nation is witnessing severe heat wave and heavy rains leading to an increase in the viral disease across the country. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. New Odysseus moon mission images reveal its vertical descent to the Malapert A landing site, the furthest south any vehicle has been able to land at the moon. The 13-foot-tall hexagonal cylinder made it to the surface intact, but a navigation system problem caused an untested workaround to avoid a catastrophic crash landing. Spain's Rolls visited the victims of a fire that broke out in an apartment block in Valencia, Spain on February 26th. The death toll has risen to at least 10, with the blaze originating on the 4th floor of one of the towers. The fire was fueled by strong winds and authorities have revised the death toll at least 9. An investigation is underway into the cause of the fire. And still to come on DD India News Hour. India's BSF organizes Civic Action Program in Mizoram in northeast India. Swedish envoy inaugurates street art in Delhi, celebrating 75 years of Indo-Swedish diplomacy. And the first ever international puppet festival begins in northeastern Indian state of Tripura.
That never stops, where information shapes our reality. One app stands out, helps you stay ahead of time. Introducing the DD India app, your gateway to a world of news right at your fingertips. Your most trusted source of news goes global, goes digital. Explore a world of options, top stories, live updates, in-depth analysis, and more. Stay informed wherever you are. Real-time alerts keep you ahead of the curve always. The DD India app, connecting you to the world, one story at a time. Download now and explore the world of knowledge, insights, and authentic information.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lepakshi Kurana, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Sweden has cleared its final obstacle to joining the NATO after Hungary's parliament voted to ratify its bid. The 2024 US presidential race heads to Michigan now after losing South Carolina to Donald Trump. Nikki Haley still vows to stay in the race. US President Joe Biden hopes for Gaza ceasefire and a hostage deal as Israelis Hamas take part in Qatar talks. And in a Power Pack 2-day tour beginning today, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra will lay foundation stones of several developmental projects. Well, in a power-packed tour scheduled for 2 days, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra on the 27th and 28th of February. Prime Minister will also visit Vikram Sarabhai Space Centre at Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala with a vision to reform the country's space sector to realise its full potential, and his commitment to enhance technical and R&D capability in the sector will get a boost as 3 important space infrastructure projects will be inaugurated during his visit to Vikram Sarabhai Space Centre. The Prime Minister will also inaugurate 3 important space infrastructure projects during the visit. These 3 projects aim to provide world-class technical facilities for the space sector and have been developed at a cumulative cost of about 1,800 crore rupees. The projects include the PSLV integration facility, new semi-cryogenics integrated engine and stage test facility, and enhanced technical and R&D capability. Prime Minister Modi will also review the progress of Gaganyaan mission, India's first human space flight program.
We are at Vikram Sarabhai Space Centre at Thiruvananthapuram, and this is a huge, magnificent sub-assembly integration area of Gaganyaan mission. This huge system, this entire complex carries every nut and bolt of mission Gaganyaan, and several of these missions kept here will be integrated in the actual Gaganyaan mission, and this is the cryogenic engine CE-20 for Gaganyaan. This was the most ambitious mission for Gaganyaan, and ISRO's Atmanirbhar self-reliant technology has got this cryogenic engine ready, and with this engine passing all the successful tests, ISRO declared that now the Gaganyaan rocket is human rated. It is tested for all the endurances, it is tested for all the safety aspect of the astronauts, and this will now be able to take the astronauts to the space. These are the actual systems, the actual parts of mission Gaganyaan which are ready, and these have also undergone tests during the Gaganyaan demonstrations and flight tests. And this is the crew escape system upper stack, which looks exactly like this. So mission Gaganyaan is all set to take off by 2025. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has set the vision for ISRO, and ISRO's space vision for 2047 will take India higher and higher. With cameraman Bheem, Asha Khanam, DD India, Thiruvananthapuram.
Well, as we told you, the Prime Minister will inaugurate 3 important space infrastructure projects during the visit. These 3 projects aim to provide world-class technical facilities for the space sector and have been developed at a cumulative cost of about 1,800 crore rupees. The projects include the PSLV integration facility, new semi-cryogenics integrated engine and stage test facility, and enhanced technical and R&D capability. Prime Minister Modi will also review the progress of Gaganyaan mission, India's first human space flight mission. And for more, we have Ambarasan joining us from Tamil Nadu on Prime Minister's visit today. Well, Ambarasan, Prime Minister will address a public meeting in Tirupur today afternoon. How excited are the people there, and what all is planned? I think we're not able to connect with Ambarasan right now. We'll move to him again. We'll try him again. And moving on right now, a historic celebration of diversity and unity was witnessed at Purple Fest 2024 at the iconic Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi on Monday. This monumental event brought together over 10,000 Divjagyan, their escorts, fostering a beautiful atmosphere of solidarity and mutual respect. Watch this report by correspondent Siddharth Bharadwaj.
Heart of India's bustling capital, a magnificent architectural marvel, Rashtrapati Bhavan, was thrummed with excitement, fervour and a jubilant celebration of unity and diversity as the reverberations of Purple Fest 2024 echoed throughout its halls. Adding to the spectacle were the extraordinary talents hailing from diverse backgrounds, each bringing their unique flair to the event. From showcasing their athletic prowess to demonstrating their mastery in judo, their boundless creativity, talent, and enthusiasm transcended all barriers. The event played host to over 10,000 Divyangjan, accompanied by their dedicated escorts, who converged at this majestic venue, creating an atmosphere brimming with camaraderie and shared purpose.
We want to really work with the Divyang community for all aspects of their lives. So we are going much beyond policies and schemes of the government, and we want to be part of the Divyang community for all their celebrations and all their challenges also, and how to solve those challenges.
Added more charm to the fest were the kaleidoscope of cultural performances, each act as a testament to the indomitable spirit of resilience and creativity. Her esteemed presence illuminated the event as the President of India, Draupadi Murmu, graced the occasion with her support and encouragement. Children with disabilities, accompanied by their special education teachers, were invited to Amrit Udyan exclusively for a memorable experience. Purple Fest 2024 is not merely an event. It's a pulsating heartbeat, a kaleidoscope of dreams woven into the fabric of reality. It's not confined to the boundaries of time and space. It transcended, becoming a movement, a testament to the relentless pursuit of inclusivity and diversity. Siddharth Bharadwaj's report for DD India.
And for more on Prime Minister's visit, we have Ayesha Khanam joining us from Kerala today. Well, Ayesha, this is the Prime Minister's third visit to the state this year. Prime Minister Modi will visit Vikram Sarabhai Space Centre at Thiruvananthapuram in a short while from now. 3 projects providing world-class technical facilities expected to be launched. Could you tell us the details?
Well, this is one of the historic visits among all the visits so far Prime Minister Narendra Modi has made to Kerala, because this is the first time that he will be visiting the Vikram Sarabhai Space Centre, which is India's leading space research organization and the center which designs rockets and builds and integrates rockets. So this is the very historic and milestone day for ISRO and for the scientists working at this center. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be taking stock of the so far the status and the review on the Gaganyaan mission. Remember, it is the most ambitious mission set by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and so far he has been leading this project from front. And today it will be a very, very interesting day. Besides launching the project, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also introduce to the world the designate astronauts who will be going in this mission. And these Indian astronauts, about 4 Indian astronauts, have completely undergone the training in Russia, and they have finished their training. And among these astronauts, about 2 will be selected, and these astronauts will appear on the stage with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, ending the suspense about who will be the lucky ones who will go in this Gaganyaan mission. And Prime Minister will present to them the wings, that is a badge of honor for these astronauts who will be taking a spacewalk once the Gaganyaan mission is all set. So this will be a very momentous day for the scientists working here in Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, and for all the people across the nation waiting to see as to who are these faces who will be, embarking on this space journey, on this who will be making history as the first Indians to go in the space. Remember, Rakesh Sharma is the only Indian so far who went on a space journey, but he went on a mission with Russia. This will be, Gaganyaan will be India's indigenous mission, and this will create a history wherein the Indian astronauts will go in the Indian Gaganyaan mission. So this will be a big day for the astronauts, for the scientists, and for all the people, for the entire nation, looking forward to see, the names of these people.
All right,
now,
all right. Aisha, historic day indeed today. Could you also tell us what is the Prime Minister's entire program for the day?
Well, after visiting Gaganyaan, after the review of Gaganyaan, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will participate in a public rally here in Kerala. The Kerala state BJP has been on a Padayatra, has been on a campaign trial from the past few days, and they have finished the Padayatra, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi will mark this culmination of the Padayatra here at the Central Stadium. And this is here the Prime Minister Narendra Modi will give to the people a vision, a blueprint of the vision of development for southern state, Kerala. Remember, Prime Minister's mission and his vision for the entire India is inclusivity, development, and develop India by 2047. So here Prime Minister Narendra Modi will interact with people of Kerala, with the party workers, the BJP workers who have embarked on a month-long Padayatra throughout the state. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also instill confidence and motivate the BJP party workers to work for the upcoming Lok Sabha elections in the next few weeks. So this will be another big day for the people and also the BJP workers in Kerala.
All right. Thank you so much, Aisha, for giving us that information from there. And for more on the Tamil Nadu visit, we have Anbarasan joining us from there. Well, Anbarasan, Prime Minister will address a public meeting in Tripur today afternoon. How excited are the people there, and what all is planned?
Prime Minister Narendra Modi visiting Tamil Nadu for last 2 months. It's the 3rd visit, and today and tomorrow he's visiting along 4 districts of Tamil Nadu, Tirupur, Madurai, Tuticorin and Tirunelveli. And after attending the program in Trivandrum, Vikram Sarabhai Center, he's reaching Tirupur district, where the BJP's public rally is culmination of N1 in Makkal Yatra. It's started in last October and it's ending in the Palladam constituency of Tamil Nadu. And this Padayatra, it's around October it started. Last 3 months, it's been going on across all the assembly constituencies in the Tamil Nadu. And this Palladam public rally, it's one of the huge rally, and people are expected around 1 lakh people are expected to attend the event. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi from Trivandrum is reaching a Sulur air base. After that, he is attending the public rally in Palladam, the meet. After the Palladam meet, Prime Minister is reaching Madurai, where he is attending the MSME meet, which is organized by the TVS, one of the pre-independent industry of automobile industry in Tamil Nadu, which is started in around 1912. And this event, Prime Minister is interacting with the medium, small and micro and industrial agencies in Madurai. Around 1,000 industrialists are expected to participate. And this event, Prime Minister also launching a open mobility platform and also the TVS Center for Excellence, where it's a facilitate the MSME sector of automobile industry to develop. And also in Tamil Nadu, it's called one of the hub of MSME sector. So it's a belief that Prime Minister visit to Madurai and attending this program should be one of the hopeful to the micro and small industries in Tamil Nadu.
All right. Anbarasan, also Prime Minister will also inaugurate the first green hydrogen hub port of the country. Could you give us the details there?
After this Madurai event, Prime Minister is visiting Tuticorin and Tirunelveli tomorrow, where he is inaugurating around various programs and development schemes worth of around 17,300 crores. Particularly, he is attending the Vivu Chidambarnar port in Tuticorin, one of the, it's called southern portal for the in India. This port will be developed the open platform, and also it's a boosting for the southern India, and particularly the green hydrogen, the port, which will help one of the southern west, actually the port which is situated in the Bay of Bengal. It's also boosting the eastern corridor development, which is connecting to Russia. Last month, actually, there is a meet regarding that also. This event, Prime Minister, Chief Minister of State, and also the Union Minister for the Shipping and Waterways, Sarbananda Sonowal, is attending this event, and also various inauguration of development programs. Particularly, there is a Pamban bridge connecting Rameshwaram Island that has also been inaugurated, and various development program, particularly railway lines and also electrification between Vanchi Maniachi and Sengote. Those lines also been inaugurated today. And also after that, Prime Minister is attending the Tirunelveli, the public rally. There is expected Prime Minister will interact with the party workers on that. Prime Minister visit for this next 2 days, today and tomorrow. It's kind of a boosting of work for the MSME sector and also the southern development for the Tuticorin and Tirunelveli region. And you can remember the last January and December, there is a heavy flood in Tuticorin and Tirunelveli. This works and development works will boost those regions in the upcoming Prime Minister visit.
Right. Thank you so much, Anbarasan, for that information from there. And moving on, several 100,000 people have visited the Royal Palace grounds in Thailand since the enshrinement ceremony of relics of Lord Buddha and his 2 disciples took place. The relics will be kept on display at Sanam Luang till 3rd of March before moving them to 3 other places in Thailand. DD correspondent Akshay Dongre spoke to Joint Secretary of Ministry of Culture of India, Amita Prasar Bharati, on the cultural significance and the Indo-Thai people-to-people connect.
Secretary of Ministry of Culture, Amrita Prasad Sarvai here. Ma'am, this is a huge program. Thousands of people are here right now. It seems that people from all over Thailand are coming. How deeply do you think that this exposition means for the people of Thailand? What is the cultural significance of it? And what role has the Culture Ministry played as far as this particular very difficult exposition is concerned, which was not thought to be possible before it was done?
This exposition
which was the request was made to us by the Thai government in October, and since then we started working on it. There are 20 holy relics of Lord Buddha which are available with National Museum. The government of our country, and especially the Ministry of Culture, we are very keen about ensuring that our country is seen as the land of Buddha across the world, even as for tourism, not only tourism purposes, but just a people-to-people connect also. So if we want to have a connection with the Far East countries, Lord Buddha is one of the major mediums through which we can connect with the people. When you visit Far East, or you visit Mongolia, like when we took the holy relics to Mongolia, or when we've come to Thailand, you realize that what was the influence of our country, Bharat, in the past. And that's why the language, the Thai language has so many Sanskrit words.
And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. The Border Security Force of India has organized a civic action program in India's northeastern state of Mizoram on 26th of February. The program includes a distribution of stationery items to school children, cultural program and free medical camp with doctors from various institutions including BSF, providing free consultation and distributing free medicines to the locals. Sweden's ambassador to India, Jan Steslev, inaugurated a street art project in India's capital of Delhi. The street art has been inaugurated to celebrate 75 years of diplomatic relations between India and Sweden on Monday. The street art is the first of a kind mural in Delhi's Khan Market. And coming up, global markets muted ahead of key data, inflation in check.
India that invents. India that innovates. India that excites. India that invites. Land of possibility. Teeming with opportunities. Watch India Ideas each Thursday, 8 p.m. only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lepakshi Kuran, and on to some business news now. U.S. stocks ended with marginal losses on Monday after last week's AI-fueled rally ahead of busy data week. That could affect the timing of the Federal Reserve's expected interest rate cut. The release of January's personal consumption expenditure price index, the Fed's preferred inflation gauge, on Thursday, March 1st, could dampen the recent enthusiasm should the data indicate price pressures are not cooling fast enough. A strong forecast from chip designer Nvidia last week added to this year's artificial intelligence frenzy, helping to push the Dow and S&P to new highs and the Nasdaq just shy of its November 2021 record, while keeping disappointment over the Fed's delayed rate cut in check. The S&P 500 lost 19.27 points or 0.38% to end at 5,069.53 points, while the Nasdaq Composite lost 20.57 points or 0.13% to 15,976.25. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 62.30 points or 0.16% to 39,069.23. Also, Asian shares were mixed in early trade as market investors await global clues in form of data releases this week. The yen edged higher after stronger than expected Japanese inflation data. Japanese shares rose while equities in South Korea and China were mostly lower. Well, the significant milestone in WTO history of finalization of the IFT agreement was marked at a ministerial event held at the Abu Dhabi National Exhibition Centre on the eve of the ministerial conference. Ministers representing 123 World Trade Organization members issued a joint declaration on Sunday to finalize the investment facilitation for development agreement. They also issued a submission asking for the 13th WTO ministerial conference taking place in Abu Dhabi from 26th to 29th 29th of February. The IFD agreement is the first negotiation topic set up and actively led by China at the WTO. Participants in the agreement represent 3/4 of the WTO membership, including close to 90 developing economies and 26 least developed economies. And now India's per capita monthly household expenditure more than doubled in 2022-23 as compared to 2011-2012, according to the latest study of National Sample Survey Office, or the NSSO. NSSO, under Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, conducted household consumption expenditure survey during August 2022 to July 2023. The survey aims at generating estimates of household monthly per capita consumption expenditure and its distribution separately for the rural and urban sectors of the country, for states and union territories, and for different socio-economic groups. As per the survey, the average MPCE at current prices more than doubled to 6,459 rupees in urban areas in 2022-23 from 2,630 rupees in 2011-2012. Similarly, in rural areas, it jumped to 3,773 rupees from 1,430 rupees at current prices. While you're watching DD India News Hour, time now for some sports news. And on to the Khelo India University Games. Chaudhry Ranbir Singh University's Sonia ran a brilliant ankle leg to overtake 3 of her opponents and helped her team clinch the 4x100-meter relay gold in the 4th Khelo India University Games 2023. Ashtalakshmi at the Indira Gandhi Stadium on Monday. The young player began accelerating after being at the 4th spot to hit the straight line and comfortably crossing the finish line to kick off a grand celebration by the team members. The ongoing games in the state of Assam has witnessed brilliant performances by the Indian youth. And the Indian basketball team put up a spirited fight against a much higher-ranked Iran in the Group E clash of the 2025 FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers, but ended up on the losing side of a 53-86 scoreline at the Indira Gandhi Stadium on Monday. Ranked 81st in the FIBA rankings, India were the underdogs against 27th-ranked Iran, but the host started with a lot of crumption as the packed stadium cheered them throughout the hour-long match. Forward Pranav Prince, who top scored for the host with 11 points, impressed with interceptions in the initial few minutes as the host took a 2-point lead in the first minute. Well, Tokyo has launched the world's largest projection mapping display featuring images of Japanese culture, nature and sightseeing destinations on a wall spanning 14,000 square meters. The project, certified by Guinness World Records, will be shown 5 times per night. The display is set to become a new tourist attraction. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Vipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.